Perceptions could change. Opinions could be formed with more and accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. With Toyin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.
Good morning, and stay back with you on the program Perspectives. Again, a special edition as it is this morning, and we want to take it. Much of it is what we plan to take this morning. Again, quickly like to, again, on this segment, give kudos to our children all over the country, and of course, the world over too, that Happy Children's Day. And may our children, experience the best of Nigeria, and talking about the best of Nigeria, so that we can have good leaders, from our children. That's the essence of it, that our children are leaders of tomorrow. So what we give to them, bequeath to them, is very, very important at this stage. And so my guest this morning, Jide Ojo, is a consultant, and he's a columnist too. Is a commentator on national and international matters. He's going to share this segment of the program with me this morning. Jide Ojo, good morning. Glad to have you with us in this segment.
I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So my guest, Jide Ojo, we're looking at Children's Day. We'll give just a few minutes of our time to our children all over the country, and and also talking about the world. But as we celebrate Children's Day today, what we plan for our children, the experience we want our children to have, and of course, when we say that our children are leaders of tomorrow, what are we giving out to our children now? We pray for a better Nigeria. We pray for better leaders. We pray for those that would, take our children and take them all along. And so, if we have to talk about our children, Jide, for Children's Day, let me hear your own side, of Children's Day for us today.
Well, I wish all Nigerian children happy International Children's Day. And my prayer is that they will live to celebrate many more years of that on earth. But beyond the rhetoric, the Children's Day has become a hollow ritual where we just do math fast, listen to speeches, and that's where it ends. The thing and the import of International Children's Day is lost on Nigerian children, in the sense that when you look at what is happening around the country, despite the fact that we have the Child Rights Act passed since 2004, there are some states that are yet to key into that. They have refused to domesticate the Child Rights Act. But even for those states that have domesticated it, where are the rights of children? Do we respect the rights of children, their right to health, their right to education, their right to decent living? I mean, look at the mass abduction of school children that was witnessed in the last couple of years. Thankfully, it has subsided now after the Kagara, Kankara, and the one that took place in Kebbi, thus far in 2022. I think that has subsided. But that's not to say that children have a better day. It's part of, when you look at the out-of-school children, which is estimated to be about 13 million, and Nigeria being the highest in the world, it then means that Nigerian government at all levels is not doing enough. Remember, Nigeria is not the most populated country on the earth. We have China with 1.3 billion populations. We have India with over 1 billion population. Even Indonesia is more populous than Nigeria. Brazil is more populous than Nigeria. But here we are. We just approach 206, 207 million Nigerians. We have 13.5 million out-of-school children. What about the issue of infant mortality? Infant mortality is still very astronomical in Nigeria. For all the decades that we have been rolling back malaria, we have not succeeded in overcoming the challenge of infant mortality as a result of malaria and other treatable diseases. Just barely 2 years ago, we exited the pain. Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, and Nigeria. We were the last four to exit polio in the world. But despite that certification of polio eradication, just last year, a number of white polio cases were reported again. So, in spite of all efforts of government to immunize children against the five killer disease, many parents are not cooperating. You still see these parents deny their children access to immunization. So when you sum all of this together, issue around child labor, there is still a level of child labor in Nigeria. Many underage children are still being used as domestic helps. We still have high number of Nigerians being sold off like chattels. I recently, some 2 months ago, I wrote about child farming and marketing in Nigeria, where people cultivate children as if they cultivate cassava, maize, and other grains, and sell them off like they are selling farm produce. It is that bad in Nigeria. So when you sum all of this together, issue of child trafficking, child pornography, child labor, out-of-school children, mass abduction of school children, when you sum all of this together, there's no way anyone will say Nigerian government has done well. Yeah, it may have done its level best, but I think the situation is still far from being ideal.
Yes, and Jide, again, talking about how much government has done or has not, again, do we, go back to family? Because the stage one of the child's exposure to life would be with family. How much has family done? And again, we see the pains and what families are going through now. And so most families cannot, much as they want to, take care of the child or give, good upbringing, for the child. The family here and its responsibilities to the child.
Well, you may blame the family, and they actually share in the blame. Like I said, when it comes to lack of immunization for the children against five killer diseases, it's the family that is responsible for that, because government is asking you to come and freely, without paying a dime, come and immunize your child. But some parents, because of certain religious beliefs, certain primordial sentiments, still would not do it, thereby exposing those children to polio and other killer diseases like meningitis and all of that. But what your question reminds me of my advocacy, which has not trended, which many Nigerians have ignored. The advocacy for us to have child spacing and family planning. I think it's high time media, civil society, and even government key into this advocacy. There's no point in having children that you cannot take care of. Yes, we know times are hard. Times are hard, and it's not only in Nigeria that times are hard. I've watched a CNN footage in Afghanistan where a father and mother decided to sell off their, is it 10 or 13-year-old daughter to have some money to be able to live. And so it's not like peculiar to Nigeria, but what I'm saying invariably is that why should you have many children that you cannot take good care of? You cannot give education. You cannot give healthcare services. You cannot clothe and even feed. Why having those children? This is the question. We should go beyond religious sentiment and platitudes. God will give you resources to take care of the number of children that you have. And we have a high-ranking member of the House of Reps, showcasing how he has 27 children and still counting. Is that good enough? Is everybody as endowed financially as he is? The reality that stands us in the face is that we must have child spacing and family planning. No one should have more than 2-3 children. Under this current situation, economic hardship, China had to come to that hard decision at some point in their life. Chinese government said no more than one child to a family. Until when things improved, now you can have more than one. I think it's now liberalized, having been able to embrace industrial revolution, and the economy is buoyant. But at some point, China has to come up with that child spacing and family planning policy. And that is what I think Nigerian government should do. We should encourage people to not have more children than they can take care of. There is nobody. In my own family, my mother gave birth to 5 of us. But I'm not having that many. I'm not having that many because I do not have the resources. As at the time they gave birth to 5 of us, my father was a teacher for the period he was alive before he died. And we know the hardship we went through, the denial of decent living that we went through. Many a time we go hungry because my father wasn't having enough to feed us. And my mom is a petty trader, so there wasn't much help coming from her. And that reality makes me to decide that I'm not going to have as many children. So by and large, look at what it takes to train a child today. The public schools are no longer, a decent place where you raise decent children, given the very parlor state of the deplorable state of many of the facilities in public schools, including public universities. Now, ASUA has been on strike for over 90 days, over 3 months. A father who is responsible, who has the resources, will pull out their child and put them in private university, where there are no strikes, where the children are assured of graduating on time. So what I'm saying is that the reality that stands us in the face is that as a family, we must come to that harsh decision not to have more children than our resources will be able to cater for. Gone are the days when you use your children to become mates for your cousins, for your uncles and aunties. Just say, "Oh, auntie, please let my son come and be staying with you. Let my daughter become and learning trade in your house." And then you put the responsibility of raising that child on your auntie or your uncle or your cousins and all of that. Gone are those days where you just use children as a dash to family friends. No, you have to take care of them on your own. No one is ready to take on additional responsibility on behalf of anybody. And that's the reality that we must face. And we need to reduce the number of children we are putting out. This morning when I went out, I saw a large number of children who are just roaming the streets, begging for alms. Is that the vision of a better tomorrow? These are the children we want to turn out to be senators, to be governors. These children that nobody cares for, children who are fending for themselves as early as 5-7 years age, who have to live on the street, who are exposed to vagaries of life, who can be easily recruited to join bandits, to join criminal gangs. Is that the kind of future we have for these children? So the reality that stands us in the face is that all of us must make concerted effort. Even if the government is not declaring on legislating it into action, we must have conversation with ourselves, with our spouses, on reducing the number of children we are going to have. There's nothing that says you have more than 2-3 children max, and then make sure that you save up to give these children the best that money can afford. That is how a child will turn out to be great tomorrow. But when you have a child that you are just putting their responsibility on the burden of their responsibility on other family members, on your younger sisters, younger brother, older sister, aunties, uncles, just throw them out and say, okay, go and be staying there. And it's not as if you are going to be giving those families money to take care of your child. You are expecting that they should raise the child for you. Who hasn't got their own responsibility that will now want to take on additional responsibility? That's why I am very pained that we are just being reckless in raising children. We don't care. We don't plan for them. We are not giving them the best of education. We are not exposing them to the best of what life can bring. And this makes it very easy for them to be recruited into child surgery, into criminal gangs. And that is why society is like I said. So let's have family planning, let's have child spacing, let's reduce the number of children per family, and let's see in the next 10 years whether we will not be able to reduce the number of out-of-school children and even the number of criminal gangs that are going to be operating in the country.
Well, I'd like to say a big thank you on that. Food for thought for all of us. I'd just like to say thank you on that, your perspectives on Children's Day.
I can't tell you.
Okay, that was Jide Ojo, a columnist with the Punch newspapers, is a commentator on national and international matters, sharing thoughts with us on Children's Day. And of course, talking about the children. Food for thought for all of us. And I hope we make something out of that. We'll stop, we'll have a break on this segment. Then the next segment, it will be something different from here. Just stay with us. Welcome back. Is the program Perspectives this morning. This is the second segment of it. First segment dedicated to our children. And Jide Ojo shared thoughts with us about the child and what the Nigerian child is going through today and wants a better life for the Nigerian child. And there are ways to go about them, express themselves that way, and gave us food for thought. Parents and would-be parents, and what we look for, how we want to raise our children, so the number of children we want to raise. All of that, Jide Ojo gave to us. We're in the second segment of the Perspective this morning, and this segment is dedicated to what I say our politicians, or the politician, let me put it. I'm taking the cue from what former President Goodluck Jonathan had said about the recent delegates, and of course, coming out with representatives of will pick the card as governorship, as to the National Assembly and all of that, and he had described it as a mess. Yes, it has failed, and for what reason? Money politics, as we've seen it, and are we getting the best of how we want matters of governance to be in Nigeria? Condemnation is coming from all sides about what is coming out. Some people have won not because they are the best candidates, but because money had talked. And like the Americans would have it, that money talks and the other one walks. So we'll look at all of that about what is happening, and the people want to give governance to us. In Delta State, there was this aspirant who had given his money, spent so much on delegates and all of that, and they had, before the results came out, and been, shouting that winner, 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 winner. And then when the results were announced, you know what? The man slumped because he was not the one that was the number one man. Here in Kaduna State, we also had one person too who had thought that with so much money he had given out that he would just pick the ticket. Unfortunately, he did not, and now he's asking for a refund, of his money. Now, these are the things coming out. These delegates and how they do and how they pick people that will represent us, whether at governorship level, at the National Assembly, and all of that. What this is, showing out. And don't forget, too, that the chairman of INEC had also come out that money politics, this corruption, in terms of who we have to represent us and why it is doing us no good. And so looking at it and using our delegates to make choices for us on who, the party would play up in coming elections. Jide, just with that background, the delegates and how much, harm or good they are doing to our democracy.
Well, the truth is actually that many of our political gatekeepers are the reason why the politics or party primaries are monetized the way they are. Section 84 of the Electoral Act actually gave 3 modes of party primaries. There is direct, there is indirect, and then consensus. Why did those dominant parties choose to have a delegate system, which is the indirect primary? From time immemorial, we knew that indirect primary always encourage corruption, because these delegates, the entire delegates that will decide on the next presidential candidate of APC are just 2,300. There would have been 7,800 if the president had signed the amended Electoral Act, which amended Section 84 sub 8, which is talking about having a statutory and ad hoc delegates. The ad hoc delegates are the elected delegates, 3 per local government that were elected. Now, when you choose indirect, there is no way you will not have money bags hijacking the process. And you need to understand that even many people lobby to be delegates. They lobby, they possibly even buy their way through to be delegates, so that they will be in a pole position to recoup whatever they invested to become the delegates of the party. And I should tell you that those who usually emerge as delegates are those who are loyal to the power brokers within the state. Maybe the governor, maybe whoever is the leader of the party in the state. Because you don't want to go and elect a delegate or pick a delegate that will not listen to you. So these delegates are themselves being used to trade, to negotiate by the leaders. So, for instance, APC told us that they have 28 presidential aspirants. 28. They have not done the screening now. They were supposed to do it Tuesday, Wednesday. We are not sure whether they will do it today or tomorrow. But what is coming out is that many of those who even paid the 100 million to want to contest, how many of them have you seen campaigning? There are many of them just bought the form, hoping that they can trade with the delegates that are from their state. I don't know if you get my
Yes, I'm following. Yeah.
The assumption is that if they are a governor, they have paid 100 million for presidential nomination form. They intend to recoup that 100 million with a lot of benefits, with a lot of, a lot of tax on top. So, for instance, when in the next 2-3 days, there will be a lot of us trading, and then you that is a frontline candidate because you want to be to custom to victory very easily. You start negotiating with those governors who have already procured nomination form, who are also contenders. You start telling them, if you support me with the delegate for your state, then I will step down for you. So imagine a state like Kaduna. Kaduna, I think, has 23 local governments.
Yes.
Multiply that by 3. That is the number of delegates for Kaduna State. The Kano has 44 local governments, 3 delegate parts. So if Danduje wants, I'm being hypothetical here. I'm not saying that's what happens. But when you see these people who have themselves bought from, who are not campaigning, what they are waiting for is to bargain with their state delegates. Because you will see it on the day of primary. Each state will have seats allocated to it. They are not going to sit anywhere as if you're going to the stadium. You are going to sit state by state. So you are going to sit together. And whoever is the leader of that state delegate will be the one that you negotiate with. Is the one that will now pass words around as to who the delegate should go and vote for. So a state like Kano with 44 local government, 3 delegates, that's over 100. That's like 1 and my mathematics is very poor. 3 times 44 should give you over 120. Now, if the governor is the leader of the delegate, he can do business with them. So he will be the one that the frontline aspirants will deal with, and he will now be the one to go and give the delegates whatever he feels that is due to each of them. And that is at the presidential level. But at the level of governorship, the same thing applies. At the level of senatorial, the same thing applies. Down to the lowest level. All of this money politics, we can do without it. For instance, if the party have adopted the direct primary, in the direct primary, according to Section 84 of the Electoral Act, you have to conduct election at the ward level. Now, direct primary involves all registered members of the party. Of course, the leadership of the party may put certain conditions for anyone to now be qualified to vote. It's like INEC now. You cannot say because you are 18 years and above, you can walk to any polling unit and cast your vote. You must have registered to vote. So the party can also say, yes, you have registered to be our member, but that does not automatically qualify you to vote at the party primary. You must be a financial member. That in itself will make the party to be rich, because a lot of those who want to vote in that election will ensure that they are up to date in paying their party membership dues. But unfortunately, what we are seeing with the 18 registered political parties is that none of them seems to have adopted the direct mode of primary, which will have made it very expensive for anybody to procure those party members. But from time immemorial, literature is replete with information that the delegate system, the collegiate system, the indirect primary system is prone to a lot of corrupt practices. It's prone to a lot of sharp practices, because it's very easy to deal with a handful of individuals than in the event. Look at APC. APC claimed to have 41 members. 41 million registered members. Please tell me, how will any deep pocket politician be able to give dollars, even if it's $50 to 41 million potential voters? How will he be able to compromise that huge number of people who will have been the one to directly get involved in the choice of their presidential candidate? But you see, the flip side of it, though indirect primary is easier to conduct because you are dealing with a half of individuals, but the literature has shown that it is prone to corruption. It is prone to abuse, because it is the people, the number of people who are going to be involved are people who can be easily induced. And that is one key challenge within the primary. But more importantly, we also need to look at our moral compass. People are no longer basing their political decision on ideology, but on what is in it for me, because of the culture of poverty. Because that until just last year, Nigeria was the headquarters of extreme poverty globally, only for us to be overtaken by India in 2021. So there is deep-rooted poverty, which is making a lot of people to just look for money any which way it comes. And one of such avenues that people felt they can make money is through being a delegate of a political party, because that makes them to be in a pole position. I mean, already there are news reports. I read somewhere that a frontline aspirant in APC, even in the course of consultation, as he goes to consult the delegates in the respective states, which has been shown in the media, that is giving each of those delegates 250,000 naira or $300. So just imagine, they have not voted though. He has just gone to consult them, to market himself to them ahead of the convention, ahead of the party primary. So if you are already spending that much and you are going to visit 36 states and FCT, and you are giving each of those delegates 250,000 naira as a consultation fee to just say, I've come to see you, please vote for me when we have our primary. On the eve of the primary, another round of money would. Now, is this man a Father Christmas? Is he running a charity organization? When he spends these billions to procure victory at the primaries, that is not even the end of the story. He will still have to campaign for 150 days after he must have been nominated. 150 days, because now the number of days for open campaign has been shifted from 90 days to 150 days. Now, by the time this man becomes the next president of Nigeria, that's if he's so lucky to be eventually voted into office, what do you think he's going to do? Having spent so much to become the number one citizen.
Yes, Jide, quickly.
We want to recoup that investment.
Yes, quickly, Jide. Again, it would seem, from your analysis and what is presenting, is that we are in the hands of the delegates, because the choices of the delegates will be the choices that Nigerians would have to deal with. Because, again, let me quickly put you, across to distinguished Senator Shehu Sani in Kaduna State. He got in the primaries for his party, he got 2 votes. And he said that before that, he had said that he was not giving nothing or no money to any delegate. But again, he got 2 votes. And again, he said he received about 300 calls, from people saying that I was one of them that gave you those 2 votes. And so, this goes on, that he won't give money because he didn't give money, he didn't get, what he would have wanted. And so choices we make, I'm talking that the delegates, is it about giving us, what they want because of so much money that had gone round, to them. And so Nigerians will just be left with the choices of this, what we were presented with, and then we'll have to vote for either one of them and stuff like that. How this affects matters of good governance?
Of course, it does affect good governance. It was Senator Shehu Sani that first broke the news of someone who had gone to recoup the money he gave to delegates after he lost at the primary.
Yes.
Over 100 million, allegedly, over 100 million was recouped after the man failed. But the man is smart to be able to recruit local hunters and vigilantes to help him to recover whatever he has given. What about people who may not be that have the resources? Because even the local vigilantes and hunters that he engaged to recoup that money, he will still have to pay them. They are not on voluntary service. But beyond that, and I also need to chip in the reason why Peter Obi said he dumped PDP was because he said the party has sold the tickets to the highest bidder. And we know that is a veiled reference to a frontline politician. But this as it may, you see, the truth is that money answer talking. And in politics, if you are poor, you can only make impact if you do not have the resources to spend. Because beyond, and I've written about this is well documented in my article. I said, understanding campaign finance laws in Nigeria. I've also written another one on dispassionate view about the party nomination fee. And my own take is, even if you don't charge nomination fee, and even if you don't buy delegates, it still doesn't make our politics to be cheap. Remember, I said the law has been amended. You are now going to be campaigning for 150 days, 5 months. In that 5 months, you are going to be visiting, organizing rallies. You are going to be running TV adverts, radio jingles, billboards have to spring up across the country if you are a frontline presidential aspirant. All of that does not come cheap. And because people will not even value your aspiration if you are not ready to spend. I mean, this was done to Nate Ganifa. In the 2003 election, Ganifa decided to throw his hat in the ring under the National Conscience Party. Did you know that despite all the pro bono human rights activism that he has done, as many times going to jail for enforcement of human rights in Nigeria, people on the streets of Lagos and Ondo were still asking him for money before they would support his aspiration. That in itself can impoverish a person. So we have so much monetized the entire electoral process that even if, let me even say this, even if the party has decided to do direct primary, what would still have happened is that rather than one delegate getting so much as 250,000, 300,000, maybe the money will have been distributed in small bits to all the potential voters, as they do during the general elections, where you see agents of an aspirant who will be asking for evidence that you voted for the candidate or for their aspirant, and then giving you a token, maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000. That will still have happened. And that means the name of the game in politics is money. Unless you do have a lot of it, you may not make an impact. And that's the very unfortunate thing. Peter Obi said he's not going to give any delegate money. He wants to offer service. But people are too poor to listen to his preachment, to his sermon. They just felt that, look, you just have to find us something to buy cola, to buy recharge card, to, as he said in local parlance. So look at almost all the aspirants, the frontline ones, the ameches of this world, the VPs of this world, the Jagaban of this world, the articles of this world, all of them that you see moving from state to state. This is what they will not tell you. You will not see it on camera. But in each of those visitations to traditional rulers, religious leaders, and even delegates, they will have to leave something behind as the money for their, breakfast or lunch, or the money for their, cola, as it said. And this is enough to make some people who are not financially strong to go bankrupt. So, but the ultimate aim, my worry, basically is that how do we get good governance when you spend billions on your campaign fund? Because as it is, the 5 billion naira that Section 84 sub 2 talks about as the campaign finance ceiling for a presidential aspirant has been, they've made a mincemeat of it. When you have to give over 2,300 delegates, that's much money, just for consultation. And then during the main primary itself, you still have to give them. That in itself will have run you well above $1 billion. Before you now add political advert, many of them are now opening, social media accounts. They are now doing live streaming. They are now doing adverts on online media. This costs a lot. And that in itself adds to the electoral cost. And at the end of the day, when you invested so much and you get lucky, the bottom line is that on the assumption of forfeit, that is what you'll be going to recoup. You want to recoup whatever you have spent in the course of the electioneering process. And that's where governance will suffer. Because, nobody will preach good governance to you at that point. You have looked at, maybe you've ended up spending over 20 billion to become the number one person in Nigeria. And this money, some of them you took it as loan. Maybe some of them you have to sell off your property to be able to get the money, or your investment was sold. You are going to recoup that before you even think of the people that voted for you.
Okay,
and
Jide.
We lack a good governance.
Okay, Jide. Let me just squeeze in one call or two, because from the way we're saying this and the way we're going, it looks like we're still far from the ocean on matters of good governance. But let's just squeeze in this call. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
This party primary.
Yes.
But Nigerians are being misled by the very presidential system of government. This is expensive in this country. This does have to goodness or parliamentary system of government. That is what.
Okay. Your name, please. Your name, please.
Mr. Adukaya from Kudele.
Adukaya. Okay. All right.
Yes,
thank you. I got you on that. Let me just squeeze in. Yeah. Presidential, system, very expensive, and you're saying that we should go back to, parliamentary system of government. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Hello, good morning. Yes, good morning. Quickly, please.
Good morning,
just quickly. Yes.
I just want to ask your guest, how can we bring down cost of politics in this part of our country?
Okay.
Because the way it is going, it is the highest bidder that takes it, and nothing to show for it.
Okay.
How can we make it less attractive that nobody will want to go there? If it is possible for me, in my own personal opinion, why can't from the president to the local government let it be minimum wage? So I just wanted to serve the people and let things work the way it ought to work, and everybody will enjoy the rest of the democracy.
All right, Engineer Emmanuel. Okay, let me. I'm coming back to you now, Jide Ojo. Got two callers there. Engineer Emmanuel saying that how can we make this less expensive? That because it's like the highest giver, would be the one that we're presented with, and he wants it to be brought to as low as the minimum wage. And then Adukaya was saying that the presidential system of government is sounding very, very expensive. That can't we do with the parliamentary system of government that we once had?
Well, I didn't get the second question. One on parliamentary system, I think that the parliamentary system of government, yes, in contesting for parliamentary, you may not need as much resources because you just go into parliament, and from there the party that wins majority of the seats will form government, and that's all. A prime minister is pretty much a taparest. That is first among equals. You don't vote. The president of the prime minister of UK now working on nationwide context when he emerged. He was elected a prime minister from the party that he represented in parliament. Yes, we tried that for 5 years, 5-6 years, from 1960 to 65. But the drawback of that is that a lot of people felt the Westminster system of government may not be very good for us because of provinciality. It brings us not to whoever becomes the president or the prime minister is not elected by the entire country. and that he is just a representative of his constituency, and then elected by his members in a collegiate system as the prime minister. Well, there is a way we can go back to that, because this presidential system of government is rather very expensive. Very, very expensive, so much so that look at even the organization of election in Nigeria. In 2019, INEC got 189 billion to conduct the 2019 election. In this 2023 election, INEC has requested and has received 305 billion. You can see the exponential increase in the cost of electioneering. So when you look at that, democracy is generally very expensive. But we can look at different options. They call for prime ministership or the Westminster system of government, parliamentary system of government, is something that can be considered in the next constitutional amendment. But right now, what we have in our system, in our constitution, is presidential system of government. And United States of America has been practicing this system for over 200 years, and they have mastered it. Maybe over time, we will also master this presidential system and make it work for us in a way that it does not encourage corruption, in a way that it doesn't also become a financial albatross on both the election managers and the operators of the system.
Jide Ojo, would like to thank you for coming on the program with us this morning. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Happy weekend.
Thank you. And that will just be about the size of it on the program Perspectives today. Jide Ojo was with us on Children's Day, and of course the second segment of it talked about delegates and so much financial corruption also that we're seeing with matters of governance and elections. And he had his thoughts there. Jide Ojo is a media consultant. He's also a columnist with Punch newspaper. He's a blogger and one that gives us thoughts, and his thoughts are highly taken into consideration. Teprik, thank you for connecting us with the people this morning again. And Wisdom, again, thank you for putting us in the pictures. We'll come back with Perspectives on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend.
Perceptions could change. Opinions can be formed with more and accurate information. Get all sides, views, and opinions on topical issues. Have your say on Perspectives. With Toyin Alabi at 9 a.m. Mondays to Fridays on Invicta 98.9 FM. Perspectives. All sides, all views, all individuals are welcome.